Hello, Wellness Warriors. I'm actually really happy to see that there are some of you that are already in here, and we're starting off with a question. So let me look this way. John, I'm not really sure that I know what EPS means. So if you're in here and you want to give me a little bit more information about the EPS, because I don't know how to answer this question. Would it be important to would it be some important EPS? I don't know what that means when trying to get into ketosis food to eat. So, John, if you want to rewrite that question, I would love to answer it for you. And the other person here called by, hello to you as well. So, I'm really happy that we're starting off the show with 2 comments. Now, I want to talk today about fasting. Oh, wait, there's some more people hopping into the conversation. So do I get John's? Okay. Hello, Laronda Jones. Nice to see you here. And Laura, nice to see you here from Maryland. So today I want to talk about fasting. Actually, it was interesting because I found out that the longest fast that ever happened was 382 days. And they have that on record. The person was actually being followed. It happened in 1973. Apparently, this guy didn't show any ill effects. I want to contrast that more than a year of not eating, no ill effects, to what I hear when I tell people that I'm going to do a week, 5 days of fasting. I get stuff like, I could never do that. I get stuff like, you're crazy. Or I'd be starving after 5 hours. I want to point out, no, you wouldn't. You would not be starving after 5 hours, 10, even 10 hours, even 2 days. We throw that word starving around, and it's frustrating to me because there are people in the world who are actually starving. We are not starving after a few hours of not eating. So I want to throw that out there. We need to stop saying that. And what's important for us to really understand is that fasting is normal. We do it for religious reasons. We do it for medical procedures that we're going to have. And yes, we can do it to heal our bodies. Now, that's the most important reason that you are ever going to fast, is to heal your body. Remember, we only get one of these, and we need it. It's important. So taking the best possible care of it that we can, high on the list, Wellness Warrior. Now, fasting just means not eating food. And because of that, it's important for you to know how long you need to fast to get any kind of actual health benefits and weight loss benefits. Because I know that's why a lot of people look at fasting. We're going to talk more about my stance on that in a bit. But if you don't know how long to fast, then you're going to end up not eating food, torturing yourself, and not getting the benefit that you're trying to get. And so the most important, it's like, we think that 8 hour sleep that we're getting, and we wake up and, maybe 15, 20 minutes later, we are eating something. We think that that's now means that we fasted, right? Because, well, we'll go like 9-ish hours every day without eating. But that means that you're spending 15 hours of your day eating, because we have breakfast a little bit after we wake up and we have that snack before we go to bed. That's too much time with food coming in. Dr. Ekberg has helped us to understand that if you want the benefits of weight loss and the improved health that your body can start to give you, you absolutely need to fast for around 18 hours, right? Because between 18 hours, that's when you start to see the benefits. and then it ramps up really well to 48 hours. So in there, it's like on a nice steady increase the entire time. And then by the time you hit 72 hours, your body is doing the best that it can do for your health. Now, you keep that moving forward, and yes, your body's going to do amazing. But there is a maximum to that, Wellness Warrior. You can't just obviously infinitely not eat, because then we would actually be starving. But there are a lot of people with the amount of energy they have on their body. Easily, I did 5 days, multiple times, no problem. Doing 48 hours for me, not I don't blink at doing 24, and 48 hours is like, yeah, okay, sure. I'm too busy, whatever's happening. So it's possible, and I want you to understand that it's possible and that you're going to get benefits out of getting past 18 hours, because it's the most amazing, excellent way to just heal and repair your body. Your body starts doing some processes like autophagy, which is a type of cell cleanup where anything, any particles that your body has, so let's say there's broken proteins, broken cells, broken, all the things that make us up, break down as we live our day. And when we don't eat, our body can actually go in and just grab these bits and pieces and clean them up. Just, help the internals stay in a good position. There's also apoptosis that happens, which my understanding of that is that, again, it's another type of cleanup, but basically it's more based on how long the cell has been around, etc. Fasting helps us, but it also can be negative, and that's why I'm saying it's like it's good until it's not good. Right? First of all, if you go too long, then and you go past the point where your body has enough energy on you, that's not a good thing. So it makes me think about, there's certain people that want weight loss more than they want good health, and therefore will push their body further than their body is wanting them to go right now. Right? So fasting can actually teach us bad habits. For example, I've seen people use fasting as a way of restricting, and that could be coming at the because of mental health issues. It could be coming at because of, the extreme displeasure with the weight that you're at. But regardless, if you're restricting in the sense that I'm absolutely ravenously hungry, it's not going away, but I'm not eating food, that's a problem, because you're not doing this now for the health reason. Because when my body is repairing itself, it's actually not asking for food. When my body is repairing itself, it's doing a lot of processes. I'm going to get to that more in details in a second. I want to just finish this thing about bad habits, because the other bad habit that I end up seeing that drives me crazy is people think that because I'm going to fast, I can eat cake today, I can have ice cream for supper, and a lot of people do fast from a standard diet. So I'm having pizza and burgers and all kinds of stuff during the week, and then I'll just fast on the weekend, right? When I can be by myself and away from people and not be tempted. And although that might help you to keep your weight where you want it, what we don't realize is it's damaging the internals. All the garbage that you're allowing into your body is creating damage, and that damage is then going to turn around and cause you to be in pain, cause you to be sick, cause you to have problems, cause you to gain weight eventually. I have a whole video about the fact that fasting is not a weight loss hack, because I saw people using it as a weight loss thing, and it's not what you should be doing. Fasting is a way to heal the body. And yes, when you heal the body, part of the thing that you get is weight loss. I've seen people use fasting to prepare for an upcoming party, to prepare for a vacation they're going to go on. Again, that's not the purpose. So I don't want you to get into the use of fasting for weight loss, because I see the high probability of learning bad habits and using it in ways that is not towards your ultimate health goals. Because I want you to be doing these things for your ultimate health goals. Because when I found fasting, I was trying to heal myself. And I found Dr. Fung, and he really helped me to understand that when you put time into not eating, your body puts all that energy that it would have been giving to managing sugar, because sugar is in almost everything we eat, especially when we're struggling with our weight. People who don't struggle with their weight, my observation is, have much lower carbohydrate intake just in general. And not necessarily because they're trying to. A lot of the time, it seems it's based on what they actually like eating. And they just end up having less carbohydrate intake. Dr. Fung helped me to understand that fasting was a way to lower carbohydrate intake. And because you were lowering carbohydrate intake, he pointed out, your insulin was able to regulate. And when insulin regulates, he found it amazing the number of health problems that get addressed. Now, eventually, what it helped me to understand is it isn't strictly because you're losing weight. Although like a lot of people take it for that, but that's not what I understood from Jason Fung. Was that when we stop overloading our body with carbohydrates and our insulin stops spiking every single time we eat, because that's what most of us are doing, when we get off of that roller coaster, what ends up happening is our insulin normalizes. Our body is now no longer fighting the sugar that's coming in every 2 to 3 hours, because we're not eating any longer every 2 to 3 hours. And now it can turn its action. So the energy that it uses processing food, because processing food is energy intensive. That's why all that sugar coming in all the time causes so much damage. The food is coming in, our body has to get it out of our blood because, oh no, it's going to harm us. Our body has to then turn around and do something with this sugar that shouldn't be in here. Now we're storing fat. Now we're storing, sometimes when there's no more room to store fat, storing carbohydrates in places where it shouldn't be, and just creating havoc in the body because it can't put it in fat storage anymore. Okay, problems. But what I'm trying to point out is that processing food is using so much of our body's time and energy, it doesn't have time and energy to heal our body from the normal wear and tear that it would normally need to heal our body from. When we stop bringing in all these carbohydrates, Jason pointed out that, first of all, our body isn't having a high level of insulin all the time. But second of all, our body is able to repair itself. And where does it get the repair energy? Where does it get the repair like amino acids that it needs and the lipids that it needs? Well, guess what? With all the damage we've been doing, it can actually, through autophagy and all the other processes that our body does to break down its elements back into usable form, a lot of recycling can start happening. So we don't actually need to eat. The great thing that happens is that we're not bringing food in because we're not hungry. We're not hungry because our body is actually using what's on us, not only to fuel us, Honest Warrior, to build and repair us. We are only looking at the part where, oh, our body's using fat and we're losing weight. It is so much more important than that. It is so much wider than that. You are getting so many more benefits than just weight loss. But we don't pay enough attention to that because all we're caring about is that we're heavier than we want to be. I love the fact that Jason helped me to see that my addiction to sugar, because that's what was happening, was based on me not knowing and eating so much more carbohydrate than I ever needed. I've probably eaten more carbohydrate in 1 year than I ever would have eaten in my lifetime if I understood that carbohydrates were absolutely unnecessary to eat. And he helped me to understand by reminding me what I learned back in biology. Our body makes all the carbohydrates that we need. And since our body makes all the carbohydrates that we need, then we don't need to eat them. He also went through the process of how does our body actually use those carbohydrates, which was another thing that it just got me thinking about the lies that we're told by the fitness industry. I guess I would look at them for this lie because I think that's where I heard it the most. This lie that says you need to carb load before you can do a workout. And Dr. Fung pointed out, quite rightly, that when we eat carbohydrates, our body is not using those carbohydrates for the workout we're about to do. It is frantically putting those carbohydrates away as fat, and the little bit that is in our blood that we use for energy was already there. Right? It's like we have always the amount of carbohydrates in our blood for energy that we need because it has to be there. Otherwise, I would not be able to be doing what I'm doing right now. This interaction that I'm having, if I didn't have carbohydrates in my blood right now, I wouldn't be able to do this. And guess what? I have not eaten anything this morning. I haven't even drank anything this morning besides a little bit of water. That's all I've had. And yet I have the energy to do this. And I've been up. So let me just add that to the story. I've been up since 8 o'clock. So up since 8, I started this live stream at 11:20. We are currently 20 minutes in. I'm still energetic. I'm very clear-headed. I have all of the carbohydrates in my system that I need to do what I'm doing. And yes, although I haven't eaten any carbs and I haven't eaten any in a few days, several days actually, I'd say probably if I reached 100 days yet, probably past 100 days, I still have energy from carbohydrates because you don't need to eat them. Your body makes them. So those gym workouts that they can try to convince us that we need carbohydrates for, no, we can do them eating the food. First of all, normal food, but second of all, we don't need to eat before we go to the gym unless we're actually hungry. And in that case, if you're actually hungry and you eat something, is going to the gym right away the best action for your digestion? It's a whole other conversation. I don't understand why we push people to drink or eat carby things before going to the gym, because then my body wants to process the food that I've eaten, the thing that I just took in, which means it's using the energy towards metabolizing the food and trying to get it into storage. But somehow I think that that's the best time to work out. Wellness Warrior, none of it makes any sense. Wellness Warrior, I think that they tell us that so that we will mess it up and need a trainer to help us to do what we're doing. Because guess what? And this is not because trainers are magic. This is psychology. If somebody's standing beside me watching me do something, I will put in more effort. Think about when you're at work, in your office on your own, versus when the boss walks in the room. When a colleague comes in to the room, don't you tend to work a little bit more than you would have worked if there was no one in the room with you? Most of us just said yes to that. We need to understand that that trainer standing beside us is motivating because we don't like to look like we're not trying. Okay. Dr. Fung also explained that carbs cause insulin issues that lead to diabetes. And I do think that I knew that on some level, but I also think that I always blamed it on the cookies and the cake and the ice cream and all the junk food that I know I was eating. And my belief was what was going to bring me to a diabetic situation was that. I never stopped and thought about the fact that in the generation above me, in my family, they don't eat that kind of junk. Now, I'm not going to say they don't eat any junk. They eat sweet bread once in a while. They eat pone and pudding once in a while, but it's once in a while. And I just assumed that that little bit of once in a while was what was also pushing them towards diabetes. But Jason Fung helped me to understand that it's the rice and the potatoes and the pasta and the bread, the normal foods, the vegetables. It's the peppers and the carrots and the normal foods, the salad dressing that we're eating that's causing our insulin to be out of control, causing our body to be struggling. And that if I wanted to heal my body, because at the time that I was doing all this research, I had hip pain that was not letting go, that was stopping my entire life. And I can tell you, Wellness Warrior, that I've never been the kind of person who's down about my weight. But let me tell you, I was down about not being able to do my activities. That was destroying me. Because now it's not just that I was overweight, I'm overweight and unable to live my life the way that I want to live my life. That was kicking me in the teeth. That's what it was doing. And his videos helped me to understand that what I needed to do was see the carb problem, understand that the carb problem was causing an insulin problem, and understand that that insulin problem was not only blocking my body from being able to heal, but it was pushing me to eat more. It was pushing me to eat more. So there's two kinds of ways that we end up being hungry, right? There's a physical hunger, and then there's a psychological hunger. And so Dr. Fung helped me to understand the physical part of this, which was the fact that my ghrelin and leptin were out of whack. They were not at the right levels because my insulin wasn't at the right levels, first of all. But second of all, my fat, the amount of fat I had on my body is active, right? Fat is an active, it's not a passive thing. So it was impacting me. And so we add all this up together to see that physiologically, I was actually hungry a lot of the time because I would eat something carby. I don't think there was anything that I ate that was strictly protein. Just like if I start there, everything had some kind of either bread layer or rice or potatoes or pasta accompaniment. I did not eat just straight up protein. So every time I ate, because I was 80 pounds ish overweight, that means that I was insulin resistant. So every time I ate, I was having spikes. I was not having normal insulin rises, spikes over and over and over again. What that means, Wellness Warrior, is that my body just constantly telling me that I was hungry because every time I ate, that sugar needed to be put away because too much sugar in the bloodstream is poisonous. So every time I eat, my body's putting it away to save me. Thank you, body, because I couldn't be here telling you this had my body not increased my weight and kept me alive. Thank you to my body for doing that for me. It was doing that, but it also meant that I was getting hungry because now the energy was put away. So it's telling me, hey, you need to give me some now energy, thinking I would go get some fat, but that was never what I was doing. And so I'm in this bad cycle with my body. And so the physical hunger was real. But now we have another thing that I'm going to tell you about that I learned that I also had going on, which was emotional, psychological hunger. Because when I felt bad, somehow I wanted to eat. So if someone made me angry, if someone made me sad, if something happened in my life that was frustrating or annoying or saddening to me, I wanted to eat. When the time would tell me that it was time to eat, I would eat, psychological. When a commercial would show me something fun, if I had a version of it in my house or close by, I would eat it. So I'm not just eating when I'm hungry. I'm eating when it looks like a good idea. I'm eating it like when it feels like a good idea. I'm eating when those are not reasons to eat, Wellness Warrior. Please learn from my mistake. Eating because emotional, eating because fun, those are not reasons to eat. And Jason's videos helped me to see that those physical ones was this. But when I got those under control, I started to notice that sometimes I'd see something, a time and I would be like, oh, I would think about food and be like, why am I thinking about food? I'm not actually hungry. The problem for a lot of people is that when you're still on standard diet, first of all, when you think about food, yeah, the physical isn't far behind. So you are having both. But when you're in this keto carnivore world, because when you learn what the sugar is doing, most of us, if we want to start healing, start taking that sugar out. If you fall down low enough that you get into that keto world, this physical hunger piece is gone. And all of a sudden, when you think about food and realize, wow, I'm thinking about getting a snack, but I'm not hungry, you can intervene. That's amazing. That's what you want. You want that ability to intervene, Wellness Warrior. So it was when you fast, you start to see where that carb amount being just not as much because you're just not eating as much lets you start seeing these other elements that we're not even aware we're doing because it's just human nature, right? It's what we've grown up with. So the other thing I want to talk about is that our hormones are not balanced because we're spiking insulin. So, like when you fast and you're not bringing in any carbohydrates, your insulin can potentially get back down to baseline. Most of us are walking around and our insulin is never reaching what was our original baseline. Now, if we get our insulin back to baseline, the other hormones will also regulate because all the hormones relate to each other and like they rebalance each other, right? Like our body has this process called homeostasis. It's trying to keep some levelness happening. So homeostasis means it's like balance, right? And this increase in insulin changes the balance of everything, getting it back to baseline by not eating. So if we do it regularly enough where we get ourselves back to baseline, our hormones rebalance, which means now our ability to know when we're really hungry and when we're not comes back. So wellness warrior, that's the other amazing thing that I want you to get out of or understand about fasting. It's about good health and it's about our body um, learning to manage food appropriately again. Because if we take our food down, period, and we're only bringing in food once in a while, then our body has less carbohydrate in it just because we're not eating as much. And yes, I've seen a lot of people have success with that. But I've also, like I said earlier, seen people use this as oh, I can eat a whole pizza and I just won't eat tomorrow. Yes, your weight's going to be possibly stable, but your internals are still going to be fighting with you. When we understand what Jason's bigger point was, which was the carbohydrates that are not coming in and not spiking your insulin and not wreaking havoc internally are what's the benefit of fasting in this scenario, then we could actually, rather than fasting all the time for like 2 or 3 days, so eat 2 days or 3 days and then fast for 2 days and eat three, and like using that as our balance, we also could bring down the amount of carbohydrates that we eat. Can I point out that when we eat garbage, when our body is asking for garbage, and then turn around and fast, the fasting, um, the actual fasting is harder, right? Because our body is asking for food, and our body is still not used to tapping into the fat that's on board because we're still eating high carb diet in between. That's really hard to maintain. And I feel like a lot of people that I know that fast for their weight loss maintenance end up like going through long periods where they don't do it, their weight rises, then they do it again, and then they eventually stop doing it and their weight rises. And now we're back to that yo-yo dieting story. And what do we know about yo-yo dieting is that a lot of the time when we yo-yo diet, we end up at a higher weight than when we started. I started in my weight loss anything in 2011. And by 2018, I weighed more than when I started in 2011. And I've said this before, but I think it would have been better for me to just not have tried to lose any weight and stayed at that the whole time. Because in the end, yes, I was overweight, but that up and down, the stress that that caused on my body means that cortisol was again, all the things, the hormones are going to react. My insulin was through the roof, all the things that I'm doing. So anyways, I I'm happy that I figured this out. And so that's why I'm sharing it with you, right? I think one of the hard things is that when we are overweight and we're eating garbage, we don't realize that we don't need the energy from this thing that we're eating because we're hungry, right? I'm eating garbage, but I'm overweight. I don't actually need the energy there. I might need some protein. That's what might be what my body's asking me for, but I'm giving it garbage. So it's not even getting what it's asking me for, right? Because it's asking me for animal protein. We need to look at that because fasting, one of the most important things that I'm going to say today about fasting is that it kickstarts our body into a ketogenic state. So when you fast and you actually get past 18 hours and your body starts doing stuff, and if you make it to 48 hours, your body has been kickstarted into a ketogenic state. Now, I'll tell you that if you're coming from a standard diet, you're going to have horrible withdrawal. That's going to happen. But the big question in my mind is what happens when you start eating again? If you allow yourself to go back to eating standard diet, we just wasted that fast, in my opinion. In my opinion, because you could actually, off of a fast, just commit yourself to doing keto and not waver, right? For all you keto people who are saying, I really want to try carnivore, but can't put my brain around it. If you fast, after one of your next fasts, just commit yourself and say, I'm going to reintroduce only meat and I'm going to do it for 90 days and see what happens. The truth of the matter is, when you fast, so get past that 18 hours, because that's what I'm defining as a fast for everyone here. Anything less than 18 hours, Dr. Eckberg has helped us to understand you are not getting the benefits that you think you're getting. You have not crossed over into fat, like real fat burning, and you haven't crossed over into real healing until you're at that 18-hour mark. So let's try our best to try to get there, right? But now we're doing all the good things. Our body is just doing all the good things. We're dipping into that fat storage because no food is coming in, right? And we didn't fall asleep. We didn't pass out. So obviously our body's dipping into fat storage. And your mindset changes. You start to understand, wow, I can miss a meal and be okay, right? Compared to earlier where we thought, I can't do 5 hours without food, right? It just drives me nuts when I hear people say that to me. I couldn't go full. That's a whole day. Like, but yet you figure out that you can miss a meal. You figure out that snacking isn't necessary, right? That idea that dietitians and nutritionists give us, that you have to eat breakfast and then you have to have a little snack to keep your sugar levels where they're supposed to be, and then you have lunch and you need another snack to keep your sugar levels where they're supposed to be, and then you're gonna have another snack. You have supper, and then you're gonna have your before bed snack, and that's not reality. You Not only is snacking not necessary, I'm going to be the first one to say we shouldn't be snacking ever. If your body is asking for food, that means it wants you to prepare a meal and give it a meal. It doesn't want snacks. There is never a scenario where your body is asking you for a snack. Hunger equals I either need building blocks or I need real energy, and that should be coming from real food. And I don't know if you guys watch all my videos, but recently I've defined food because I feel like that's another thing I needed to do. When your body's asking for food, since we never need to eat a carbohydrate, we learned that from Dr. Fung, that means that it's asking for poultry, meat, fish. That's what it's asking for. Maybe eggs and dairy if you eat eggs and dairy. The real animal sources of protein. That's what your body is asking for. We need to change our mindset that says that entertainment comes from eating. And that's what fasting helps you to do as well, right? Because you figure out that you can entertain yourself in other ways because you're no longer entertaining yourself with food because, well, you're not eating for those 48 hours. What did you do to entertain yourself? But the most important benefit that you might end up getting from fasting. Now, I got it from keto, but you can get it from fasting if you do it right, is that fasting helps us to end our sugar addiction, right? If I'm not taking in carbohydrates and then I come out of it and I don't reintroduce all those carbohydrates, so if you under 20, you're going to end your sugar addiction, right? You need to find your number under 20. So how far under 20 do you need to be? I needed to be 18 under, which is why I lived my keto life at 10 under, because I didn't even want it to. So you know how when you go out partying and you realize that, oof, I'm totally out of it if I have 5 drinks. So you keep yourself at 2. That's what I did with keto. I figured out that, oh my goodness, 18, I'm not good. I kept myself at 10. That was me acknowledging my sugar problem and then doing a real step to make sure that it never got me again. And I think it worked because today I don't eat carbohydrates in the form of plants at all, right? At least not regularly. I mean, every once in a while you go out to eat, even if you order just meat, there's going to be some kind of spice on it. Now, Pat and I were lucky. The other day we went to a restaurant, and first of all, they didn't have pork chops on the menu, but they specially made them for me because I asked them to, which I'm saying that to you, Wellness Warrior, because I want you to remember, you don't know until you ask. And I asked, do you have any on site? And they said yes. And I said, well, that's what I want. And they said, okay. But second of all, they actually asked both Pat and I, well, how would you like them cooked? Since we were being so specific. And we were able to say, butter and salt in a pan, please. And they said, okay. And we got butter and salt in a pan. Wellness Warrior, you don't know until you ask. We're so afraid of being seen as a problem. We're so afraid of being called difficult or picky eater. Or, you know what? I'd rather be a picky eater and be healthy. That's what I would like to be. than to be accommodating to how you want to cook and wake up in pain at night. Because that's what happens to me. I know I have violet syndrome. Most of you don't have violet syndrome. You're not waking up in the middle of the night in pain because you've overeaten or you're eating the wrong thing. Maybe you gain a pound or two, right? But for those of us who have pain, for those of us who have skin issues that will start happening, for those of us who those asthmatic symptoms and breathing problem, for those of us who live repercussions that we don't like, please pay attention to that. Don't just act like you're accommodating this person who's cooking matters more. And I'll be honest with you, we were fully prepared for them to charge us extra that they cook something different, even though what we asked them to cook was very simple. To our surprise, not only did they not charge us extra, the way we ordered, that was as if we ordered two meals without the side plate. And rather than charge us two meals, they charged us a meal. They charged us as if we ordered the side plate, but just gave us. So they didn't double charge us, is what I want to say. They charged us like 1.5 each rather than double each, which they totally could have. We were absolutely expecting it. And they didn't do that. They didn't do that. Wellness Warrior, like these are the things where, first of all, restaurants want you to come back. And if they can do something that accommodates you, it's cheaper for them, right? And because it's easier, they're not wasting their spices, they're not even wasting their time. They just have to, I mean, seriously, that's probably just a timer thing because they know exactly how to cook that. It's not like we saved them time and energy and they rewarded us with not overcharging us, which I thought was amazing. And it only just helps us to want to go back there every single time. Okay. The fasting that you're going to do. Let's talk about that. I am going to tell you right away. I do one meal a day. So I'm going to start there because I want you to understand my situation. But at the same time, I want to point something out to you that I think most people do not think about at all is that I didn't get to be one meal a day because I decided to be one meal a day. That's not what happened. I'm one meal a day because as I was eating healthier and healthier, I realized that breakfast, I just wasn't hungry at breakfast time. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm not eating breakfast anymore. And then what happened next is that at some point, I wasn't hungry for lunch. And then eventually lunch got pushed back so far. It's like, well, if I eat lunch now, I'm not going to have place for supper. I'd rather have supper. So I started doing one meal a day. So the first thing I want to point out to every wellness warrior is it doesn't have to be overnight that you're fasting. It's better for you to be able to consistently do your fast and figure out a way of doing this that you're going to be sustainably doing it because your body has cleanup to do. And if you have weight to lose, this, like I said, once your body is cleaned up, once your body is healthy, your body will regulate your weight. So you're going to get the benefits regardless. But I'm really trying to encourage everyone to focus on the health benefits rather than trying to force your body to do something that it's not ready to do, that it's not able to do, that it will fight you on doing because your body will win. Your body will win. That's why you see people from a standard diet that they are doing intermittent fasting and eventually they stop. Your body will win. Okay, so what are the different kinds of fasting? 18-6 is the one that I think is the starting point if we talk about Dr. Ekberg, right? That you're 18 hours not having food, 6-hour window of eating, which theoretically opens you up for a 2-MAD scenario, right? A lunch supper scenario or a breakfast lunch scenario. So we'll notice that when we say 2-MAD, we're talking about a 6-hour eating window. So there will be people that tell you that they do OMAD and they're talking about eating breakfast and supper. I'm actually trying to point out to you right now, Wellness Warrior, that that's a kind of intermittent fasting that doesn't work according to what Dr. Ekberg is teaching us. I'm going to try to remember to link that video below. I just realizing now I don't think I linked it. So that's the kind of eating pattern that Dr. Ekberg helped us to understand is the best thing that you can do, because until you get to 18 hours, all those benefits that you're trying to get aren't happening. Now, if you do one meal a day, like I just said, you're doing 23-ish hours of not eating. And then in that 1 hour, you're eating all the food you're going to have of the day. And I'll tell you the truth, I do it because of ease. It's easy. I do it because I'm not hungry during the day. Those are my two reasons. As I told you, I haven't eaten yet. I haven't even really drank much more than a little bit of water. And I have some water on the table here for me for right now, in case I get a little thirsty. The other oh, and by the way, can I point this out to many people that sometimes we don't think about this? Our hunger signal. That feeling that we get in our stomach that tells us, hey, it's time to eat something. So I'm not talking about the psychological ones at this moment. I'm talking about the physical one. Sometimes that signal is actually the signal that says you need water. We only have the one signal for both things, for food and water. So if you find yourself not being sure if you're actually hungry, like if you feel like, well, you've been doing keto for long enough and that you're like, why can't I make it to my 18 hours? I encourage you, when you get hungry, try drinking some water and then see what happens. If you're truly hungry, drinking water is not going to last more than like 10 minutes. You're going to drink the water, your body's going to use it to rehydrate itself, and then you're going to be hungry like within 10, 15 minutes. But if you're not hungry and you drink water because you got a hungry signal, when you drink that water, you feel fine. So that's the one thing I will point out. Forcing yourself to not eat when you're hungry is a mistake. So if you drink water and you're still getting that hunger signal and there's no other, like you don't have a psychological something, you're not sad or whatever, like it's actual physical hunger, eat something. Please just eat something. Now, there are some people that will do this other eating pattern, which is every second day. And that's their actual cadence. I eat a day. So one day I eat, and then the next day I don't. And then I go another 40, so it's 47 hours of not eating. And then they eat something, and then 47 hours. Now, in those cases, in both one meal a day and every other day, that one meal is quite a large meal. Like, I feel like the more I progress in my way of eating, I notice how much more I'm able to take in and stay at my goal weight, first of all. And I can't even call this my goal weight anymore, Wellness Warriors, because I feel like I've lost weight when I didn't try to. So I'm a little bit under what my goal weight in my mind was back when I started noticing the weight loss. And I was like, oh, if I could get to that number, I'd be happy. Now the last time I checked, I was 5 pounds under that number, not on purpose at all, and with me eating more. So that's telling me a lot. And with me doing more activities, but like, again, I don't do enough activity for weight loss, but I do enough. I try to at least try to gain some muscle. So I try to do things that are going to make me, like when I do an activity, we go climbing, right? Or we go longboarding, like things that are going to make me use muscles. So it's very interesting to me, the basically what I'm noticing. Now, the other thing that we can do, so we have our 18-6, we have one meal a day, we have a meal every other day, and then we have extended fast. So if you're typically an 18-6 person and you throw in an extended fast of 2 days, yeah, that's an extended fast. And you can do anything from 2 days up to like, maybe a week, let's say, if that would be like, make sense for maximum benefits. What we learned from Dr. Ekberg is like, when you get to 72 hours, you're going to stabilize. And then it's like, well, how far do you go? In my opinion, You go until your body tells you that it wants food. And so that's going to be different for every one of us. I've never made it past 5 days. It just doesn't happen. About 5 days later, my body's like, yeah, eat something. And how do I know? The first few times I would just had hunger that wouldn't go away. The other times it turned into different things. Like sometimes it would be like I get a headache. Sometimes I just would not feel well and be like, oh, wait, I think I'm hungry. And then when I ate, I felt totally better. So it depends. But what I decided and what I'm encouraging all of you to think about is that when you don't feel well while you're fasting, take that as a sign that your body is asking you for food. Do not ignore it. Eat the food. So that's my suggestion, because I think that far too often we get so caught up and focused on weight loss that we will push and push and push ourselves past the point where our body is saying, hey, no, stop doing this. Now, I will say this, because now we're talking about extended fasts. The most important thing that I want every wellness warrior to think about is that when you go past 48 hours of not eating, and then you're going to put food in you, your body's not ready for that. You absolutely need to slowly start back eating. I always break my fast with bone broth. I find it's the easiest thing for me to intake because it has some nice proteins in there. And it also will give you some quality fats. I make my own bone broth. So I keep all the fat in and so off the meat, and I make it with meat. So I boil that fat off the meat, take the meat out, and then keep it going with the bones and everything and all the cartilage, etc. That's, I think, the most important thing to think about is that if you go past 48 hours, you want your body to be healthy. That means that you're not going to just rush food back in. You need to be careful. You need to do the thing that's safe for you. Now, I think the other thing is that the next thing that you're going to eat it's not just bone broth and then jump into hard food. I try to go eggs next. So again, soft things, and just get my stomach actually processing a real food before I go to. Now, if you can't do eggs, then I would try to do whatever your softest thing you could do. So probably would be some kind of really soft meat then. So maybe steak, or maybe what's it? Like whatever your softest, easiest thing. I'm lucky. I'm able to do eggs. So doing eggs for me is just the easiest way to ease back in. But please take it slow, ease back in. You do not want to have refeed syndrome. It's super dangerous, and people can be hospitalized with refeed syndrome. Now, I do credit my every second week fasts that I did back in the beginning of my keto lifestyle to how quickly my health improved. Like, I feel that I was just strong and on it, and my health just rebounded. But I will tell you that by the time I started doing every other day fast, I was already at goal weight. So my every other day fast did not cause me to lose weight. It was eating healthy keto that allowed my body to heal, and therefore my healing body was able to, along the way, bring my weight down, because I didn't need all that weight on me, and also because my body could use that energy and those lipids to build me as well, right? So I think that my important message to every wellness warrior is this is not about rushing the process, it's about doing the thing that's healthiest for you. I didn't do exercise at the very beginning of my journey with keto. I didn't do cold plunges like I do now, or a red light like I do now, or all the fancy things that I do now. I just ate proper food and lost weight. Right? The fasting came later, but I love that I did it because I do feel that my improvements, you know, I have such tight skin now. Like, I still have some loose skin some places, but like I see it. I see that my skin tightened up. And at first I didn't see it. It was Pat that pointed out to me. But like it happened. And I credit the fasting I did and do to that. So let's focus our attention on getting the basics right and making sure that we're just focused on doing the things that are going to help us to move forward, Wellness Warrior. I would love for you to try out the different kinds of fasts. Like maybe you start with the 16, it might be smartest to go in order. Start with the 16, the 18-6, and then you progress to one meal and play with them. And maybe you might find that you do too mad and you like it, or you might find that you do every other day and you like it. I remember talking to Rose and her pointing out that she likes the every other day fasting regimen. It just works for her and she enjoys it. So let's talk about when we should not be doing fasting, because I think that's the other thing that we need to understand. Because if your hunger doesn't go away after drinking water, you actually need to stop. But there's another thing that I want to point out, which is that sometimes we shouldn't start. Right? Like if I'm sick, I shouldn't be fasting unless I just don't want food in. Right? If I'm feeling so sick that I can't eat, then don't eat. That makes sense. But if I'm not feeling well, if I have a cold or something and it's a fasting period of time, is that really if my body is telling me get food, I'm going to listen to my body and I'm going to get the food. So, yes, you should stop fasting if you feel ill. And so if you've been fasting and you feel ill, but also if you're already feeling ill, don't do it. If your body's asking for food, it knows better than we do what it needs. And that, I'm not talking about psychological asking for food. It's, oh, I feel bad. I want, and then you're eating like cookies or whatever. You should still be eating healthy food when you're sick. As a matter of fact, that's the most important time to eat healthy food is when you're sick. So like, now if you tend toward under eating or have any kind of eating problems, any kind of disordered eating anythings, don't fast, right? Just do a healthy keto or carnivore lifestyle, but don't fast because it's going to trigger you, right? It's going to trigger you. And like I said before, I see a lot of people that they take fasting as a excuse to overeat. So if you tend towards binges, again, I would really be very cautious with any of that. You want to be so super stable in your eating habits that you're doing healthy eating. Keto or carnivore is what I suggest. But whatever healthy eating that you're doing, you want to be doing healthy eating all the time before you start touching fasting, because it's not magic, and your disordered eating can show itself if you have it. All right. Fasting doesn't cause disordered eating, though. Remember, lots of people fast for religious reasons, for medical reasons, for all kinds of other reasons. Fasting doesn't cause disordered eating. But if you already have it, it can trigger you. So be careful, please. And you absolutely want to listen to your body. All right. You want to find a comfortable fasting duration for you that you can do sustainably. So if you plan to have this as part of a tool in your toolbox, right, that help your body to stay as fit and get to as healthy a place as it possibly can, because when your body is processing food, it cannot clean up. So we do need to give our body time. That's why I love my 1 meal a day regimen that I'm on, because it just means that during my day, my body has all the time it needs to repair anything that needs repairing, right? Until I eat. And by the way, I do my meal at supper. Just gonna, like, I like to throw ideas out to help people bust some of the ideas they have from history that gets them thinking about food in the wrong way. There's this lie that we've been told that, oh my gosh, if you eat after 6 o'clock, your body can't process, you're going to just be fat. Regularly, my supper is between 7 and 9. And like, for example, on Mondays, I have later meetings and my supper can even be like after 9. Could be like if I feel hungry when my meeting is over at 9:30, 10 o'clock, I'll have supper because I'm hungry. So, and my weight is stable. And I've lost weight recently. And this pattern hasn't changed. Wellness warrior, you need to do what's sustainable. And that means eating a diet that tastes good to you, that's healthy. That means doing the exercises that are fun to you, that you'll do. And it means eating the cadence that allows your body to repair itself, that you can sustain. If you can sustain one meal a day, terrific. If you can sustain 18-6, perfection. If you can sustain every other day, hallelujah. Pick the one that makes the most sense to you and then do that, right? Maybe you're one of those people that it's not one meal a day. Like it's a meal every 20-ish hours. That's what's feeling best to you. So that means that your meal is going to move over the course of the day, because at some point it's going to be breakfast and then it's going to flip back around to supper because you have, and then you're going to get through your night and you wake up and right. And I don't know, but you're going to figure it out. You're going to figure it out because it's going to feel right to you. Now, I want you to keep in mind that the healthy body regulates its weight. That is a key here, Wellness Warrior. Your healthy body is going to just make you feel great. It's going to keep you at the best possible position, and it's going to put you back to what your weight's supposed to be. So that means that if we just focus on health rather than focus on weight, our body will take care of the rest. Your body wants to be healthy. It absolutely will do everything it can to get you in a healthy position if you give it the right tools. If you eat the right things, your body wants to be healthy. So we're going to prioritize health over taste, and we're going to allow our body to do its thing. I have a question for you. Have you tried fasting? And if you have, what was your experience of it? If you're present on this live stream, put it in the chat. Put that in the description below. Sorry, put it in the comments below. If you've ever tried fasting, what was your experience? I'm curious to know. So there are some people here. I saw some comments come in. And so I think I did say hello to Laura and Google user. Hello, Lainey from Australia. Nice to have you here. And Gradual Legends. Can we please have some questions? Do you have questions about fasting? Do you have questions about, I don't know, have you tried fasting? Did you have any issues with fasting? I would love to answer some questions today. Do you have questions about keto or carnivore? I'll do that too. But fasting is a topic. I'm kind of curious to know what your experience of fasting has been. I have watched some stuff on this warrior, and it just blows my mind. Hi, Pat. It blows my mind that people just, they get told the wrong thing. They're flipping back and forth. They're using fasting the wrong way. I would love to know what you guys have heard. Hello from Seattle, Tina Labouve. Nice to have you here. Jeremy Griggs. I fast also a truck driver. See so many drivers that can barely walk. You know, what's kind of unfortunate is that when you sit for a living, that's the outcome. So part of the reason that I think in my problem is that I also sit for a living, right? I have clients and I sit and talk to people, and it's horrible. It's horrible because is it because I'm not moving enough, which is part of what I think happened, is like you're just sitting there and you're not moving enough. And then when you do get up to move, maybe you're exhausted, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, I'm very happy to be able to walk right now and be able to run and be able to climb and be able to rollerblade and longboard and ride my bike and ride my scooter and all the things that I'm riding. So yes, Jeremy, I get it. How fortuitous that I started a fast yesterday. That's terrific, Tina. I would love to know how that goes for you. Maybe you can let us know in the comments at some point. That would be terrific to know how it goes. Laura, sometimes we confuse thirst with hunger. Absolutely. That was something that, again, you learn these things in biology. And then when you're living your everyday life, you don't quite put it together that, yeah, you do need to drink sometimes. And it's not just about putting fun foods in your mouth and entertaining yourself with food, which we should never be doing, Wellness Warrior. We should never be entertaining ourselves with food. It's not a good idea. It's actually quite dangerous. Aubrey Love, hello. I'm finally at OMAD and feel good with energy after 9 months carnivore, finishing 10 months. That's terrific. One meal a day. I don't even know how quickly I got there, but I do remember I got there quite quickly, partially because my typical on a normal standard diet was to skip breakfast, even though I would end up, once I started eating for the rest of the day, but I would typically skip breakfast. So when I started keto, they advised breakfast, lunch, supper. So I did what was advised because I figured if I'm going to do this new thing, I should do what is expected of me to do. And so that's what I did. I did breakfast, lunch, supper, but breakfast fell away real fast because when I was eating that healthy, like my body was just not interested in eating in the morning. So I was, I guess, maybe faster than most people, but fortunate in the fact that I found Dr. Westman as one of my first videos about how to do keto. So my intro was, I believe, Berg first, Westman, Fung, and then Barry. That was the order that I found them, I believe, if I'm remembering that correctly. And Dr. Westman was that white coat video that I did actually see where he said, you eat to satiation and you only eat when you're hungry. And that piece of the puzzle of only eating when I was hungry, game changer, because it actually helped me to see where once I started eating properly, how I wasn't hungry actually. So, Florica, hello. I am really appreciate your advices. Thank you so very much. Love eggs, and I am not hungry after I eat eggs. Yeah, I think I'm not really sure how many people actually have problems with eggs. I've been made aware by Dr. Georgia Eid in we did an interview. That's if you want to check that out on my channel, and we talked about how. Well, she talked about how people have problems with eggs and dairy, and she sees them as a common allergen, which I mean, I know some people have problems with eggs, but I didn't know they were such a common allergen. And I didn't know dairy was such a common dairy allergen. Again, everybody seems to love ice cream and cheese and all the things, but haven't had problems with lactose myself. I also understand that you could kind of come in and out of having lactose problems. So maybe that's why it just seems to me like people tend to not have problems with it. Like people just seem to eat it. That being said, I will say that when I had problems with dairy, sometimes because the problems are more bathrooming and gassiness, and we're so used to being problematic with bathrooming from our vegetables anyways, sometimes I would not really remember or notice the difference. And so it so sometimes it was extreme and I would be like, oh yeah, I'm having my dairy problems. And other times it wasn't as extreme. And now I'm wondering, was it the dairy problems that just like at a lower level? Anyway, so hard to tell. Um, hello, LaRonda Jones Bates. Nice to have you. So give me, yes, I've done 16-8. I'm hungry the first 2 days, then it's a breeze. So my question to you, LaRonda, is if you're doing 16-8, why do you say, like, why do you come off? Are you saying that's what happened the first time and now you do it all the time? I'm trying to understand what you're telling me. Or do you normally eat a wider window? So I think what you're saying though is that you had trouble the first 2 days and then it was fine. And now that's what you're eating. So let me know, because theoretically, if you can do 18.6, 18.6, that's what I would, that's what Dr. Ekberg is encouraging us to do, is that we have an eating pattern that at least 18.6, because that's what's healthy. And that's what helps us to keep not only the weight loss portion of this, that's not the part I care about. He's talking about the weight loss, but he's also talking about the keto benefits kick in at 18.6. So all those health benefits of autophagy and all the ramping up of growth hormone and all the great things happen at 18.6. Hello, sing it. How are you doing? Love it when you're here. Let me just see what you have to say. When I would do the cayenne lemonade maple syrup diet in the past, that does not sound healthy at all. I forced myself to not eat for days. Oh, is there a reason other than discomfort to not force a fast? 3 days, plan soon, healing. So, yes, yes. So, if you're coming to fasting from a healthy place, it's not hard. That's why I keep saying that people that come to fasting from a standard diet end up torturing themselves. And then if you don't fast long enough, that's really torture. But even if you fast long enough, you're not comfortable during the fast. So sing it. What I'm going to say is today, with the fact that I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe you told me that you're carnivore now, but I could be wrong. If you find it hard to fast for 3 days, then probably there's some tweaking to be done on your carnivore. So what you're eating in your carnivore diet. Because theoretically, when we do carnivore and we're eating only when hungry, so that's the other piece of this puzzle. I only pick up something to eat when I'm hungry. Then if I decide to fast, so I'm introducing an idea to myself, right? And I'm going to, at that first meal, when I first get that signal that, okay, I'm hungry, I could eat something, and I don't, it's not a forced scenario in the sense that within minutes, my body takes energy from me. So that's the same reason that I tell people that when you're fasting and then you feel like hungry and you drink some water and it just kind of subsides and whatever, that's okay to keep going because your body took energy from you. But if you're fasting, you drink some water and you're hungry as heck, eat. So 10 minutes later, you should feel fine. What I would encourage you to think about, you're at work. And for whatever reason, maybe you're in a meeting, maybe you're on the road and like you're on your way to a client's house and you just don't have time to stop and have lunch. You get to the client's house or you're in that meeting, the hunger goes away, right? For the most people, now we're talking about even standard diet people, the hunger goes away. In that moment, your body, when you really didn't feed it, took energy from you. The difference when we're keto or carnivore, when that happens and your hunger goes away, it's not going to come back as quickly as a person on standard diet. So when I go back in my history, when I was working for the government and I had to do home visits, when I would go to somebody's house and let's say, so maybe I'm there too long because there's something happening and then I missed lunch and I have to go straight to my next person. By the time I finished work and was on my way home for supper, I was hungry, and it was hungry. And that hunger could have hit me while I was at that last person and stayed with me all the way to it's like, now my body's pushing me. Now my body's screaming. And it might subside and come and go, but it's coming and going much faster because I was still carb focused. And right now, how much of that is also psychological, knowing that I missed lunch? And so now I'm thinking about, oh, what am I going to have? And, oh, should I stop and grab something? And, but so like, how much of that is also the mental part of the story that, again, I can't possibly go 5 hours without eating, right? Right. The silly things we tell ourselves. It's like, oh my goodness, I'm starving. No, I wasn't. But the silly things we tell ourselves. Somehow, when I was in the meeting and I couldn't get food, I was fine. I was targeted. I was focused. I was doing my work. But as soon as I was driving home, I remember this like it was yesterday. The hunger was slapping me in the face and like yelling at me and screaming in my ear, stop at McDonald's, stop it at the Belle Provence, stop at the, right? It just wanted me to stop and get food. Sometimes I did because I was that hungry. Sometimes I made it home because I knew I had something that I could pop in the oven that would just take 20 minutes. Right? Sometimes if depending on what time of day it was, I might have called my mom and say, hey, I'm on my way home. I'm really hungry. Can you make me some things for when I get there? Because my mom's nice like that and she'd make me something. But at the end of the day, Wellness Warrior, was it necessary? No, I had 80 plus pounds on my body that I could have been drawing from. And I wasn't drawing from it. So I would encourage you, Sing It, that if you are still struggling to do 3-day fast, like, so beyond that first meal that you miss where it's like, okay, a little uncomfortable because my body wanted food, but then it dips into me and like theoretically like 10 minutes later, I'm 10, 15, 20 minutes later, you're fine. Beyond that little moment, if you're telling me it's more than that, there might be something to talk about. You can reach out to me in the community, Sing It, and we can look at that. Actually, I'll put the community banner on the screen so that you guys, oh, wait. Yeah, so that you guys can have that. There we go. Okay. So, sorry, I lost my place in the list. That's unfortunate that when you, okay, there we go. So thank you, Maggie, for dropping by. What does fasting do to insulin resistance? So when we fast, we aren't eating. And Dr. Fung was able to show that when you're not eating, your insulin will come down. So depending on how long you fast for, how much time your insulin has to go back to baseline. And ultimately, as we learned from Dr. Ekberg, doing it from and Dr. Westman and Dr. Mason and all the keto focused doctors, fasting from a position of a keto carnivore lifestyle clearly will give you greater benefits, because when you resume eating, you're not just reintroducing all the carbohydrates again and pushing your insulin right back up to where it was before. So, but by not eating, we allow our insulin to start coming back down. And so, like when I look at myself, that every other week fasting for 2 days that I was doing at the beginning of my journey probably sped up the resolving my insulin resistance, because every other weekend I was doing 47 hours of not eating, right? I was eating just once after 2 days. And so therefore, actually, I can't even say it was 47. It was more like 50 something, because I would start it on the Saturday and I would finish it on the Monday. And Mondays are days that I eat like 9-ish, but Saturdays are days that I eat earlier because the kids are there. So yeah, so I was actually doing 50 something hours, and it's just helpful. It helps your body to, because you haven't moved your insulin upward, it can really get it as close to that normalized place that it should have been as possible. So Custom Van 65 says, wish I could get my wife on board. Been carnivore for 5 months, not fasted yet. Now, you know what? I think that when it's time to fast, you're going to know. I would encourage you, more than focusing on fasting, I would encourage you to focus on eating only when hungry and eating If you're doing keto, eating to satiation. Oh, no, you're carnivore. So eating till you're just, slightly full, and then like only eating when hungry. If you do the part where you only truly eat when you're hungry, so not because of the clock or because of, like someone offered you something, but just if you're only putting something in your mouth when you're hungry, I think you'll end up finding that fasting becomes a thing. And honestly, you only need to do 18-6, which is what I love about what Dr. Eckberg taught us. Because when you find out that really all you need to do is 18-6, then that's much more approachable for the average person. I am 3 hours into my current fast, so I'm not sure today counts, but I did a 30-hour fast that made me feel much lighter. Yeah, 30 hours. If you do that every once in a while, then, like, because 30 hours is a bit more than a day, right? So, yeah, if you do that every once in a while, that's going to definitely give you benefits. Probably every weekend or every other weekend is more than most people need if they're at their goal weight, because you're really focused once you're there at letting your body heal. If you're at your goal weight and you've been eating a healthy keto or carnivore lifestyle, then chances are your body's already cleaning up. This is just an added benefit, Wellness Warrior. What is refeeding syndrome? So, refeed syndrome is a very scary, scary thing that I learned about when I was looking into fasting. Basically, what happens is that your body is a system that likes to be in homeostasis. What homeostasis is more of the same, right? It likes things to be even, balanced. That's what it's trying to do all the time. And it's fast at rebalancing. So when we're eating, and okay, the best example of this is what happens to our microbiome, our gut microbiome. So let's give you this as the example, because I think this is going to make it very clear. When you're eating a standard American diet, you have certain gut microbes happening, and like all your microbiome of your stomach, of your intestines, your digestive tract look a certain way on a standard diet based on what you actually eat. And then if you would switch and do a keto diet, which keto, carnivore, whatever you guys are doing right now, your gut microbiome changes. And what they're telling us is that within 2 weeks, your gut microbiome is now adjusted to this new way of eating. Could be a month, but like, it could be as fast as 2 weeks. Then what we need to understand is that our body, with what we were taking in, adjusted itself to match what we were taking in. So let's take this to the next logical conclusion. And this is what's scary, is because it happens even faster than we think, because this takes 2 weeks. If you don't eat anything, your body starts adjusting. And apparently, after 2 days, your body has adjusted to no food coming in. And if you keep going further, the further forward you go, the more your body is getting used to there's no food coming in. Your electrolytes are changing, and your body is recalibrating because there's no food coming in. And that is super important. If my electrolytes recalibrate and the processes my body is doing recalibrate based on there's no food coming in, and then I eat a cheeseburger or a pizza or even a steak could probably do it if it's the first thing I eat. Now my body's reacting because it was expecting nothing. It got a bunch of something, and all of its processes have been dialed to, oh my God, there's no food. And now it has to quickly try to redial them to there's food, and it's not that fast. So apparently 2 days is how quickly this happens. So if it took it 2 days to adjust to no food coming in, you need to give it at least a little bit of time to adjust to food coming in, which is why my first meal often is bone broth. And when I take in that bone broth, I'm obviously evaluating how I feel. I didn't say that during the main video, but that's what I'm doing. I'm evaluating how I feel so that I can make sure that I'm doing what I need to do if I don't feel well. And then if that meal goes well, usually the same day, within hours, I will might have my egg meal. And then the next day I go back to eating normally. Or it might still be a lighter meal, but like depends on how hungry I am, but normally ish. Usually it's a lighter meal though. I hope that explained it, Laura, but if you have more questions, I just found you on YouTube a few days ago. So hello, Lolo Carter. Have passed the info along to my friend. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I went to see a chiropractor years ago, and he has a standing desk. He said sitting is bad for the spine. That's why people squat in other cultures, better for the spine. That's interesting to know. I do have a standing desk. This is a standing desk. I mean, all my desks that I use are standing desks. I have 3 of them. So at every office, I have a standing desk. I think it's important to be able to stand. So, the thing is, I don't stand near enough. First of all, when I'm in this studio, I only stand, I would say, about a third of the time. But it's more because I don't know what it is with this particular standing desk that I have, but when I'm trying to type, it shakes too much, and it makes me not able to read the screen properly. So only like a third of the time. If I'm not typing, I'll stand. But the other problem is that I'm sitting when I'm interacting with clients, right? Unless I get a lucky client who wants to stand. So unless I'm lucky to get a client that wants to stand, so then I can stand too. Like, we can stand. And then we both stand. But typically we're sitting. I fast every 2 to 3 weeks, 40 to 48 hours. That's very cool. That's very cool. I've completed a 10-day before, but it seems that the most difficult day is day 3. Why is that? The most difficult day is day 3. See, like in my way of doing things, if I would have had difficulty on day 3 of a fast, and I'm assuming you're talking about a complete fast now, I would have stopped. So I wouldn't have kept going forward. I'd have been like, my body's asking for food. I would have given it food. Because if I did okay on day 1 and day 2, my assumption is my body's asking me for something. Now, that being said, I also have to ask Tina what your original diet is. And I don't know if you told me that already. If you're keto, carnivore, you started a fast yesterday. Yeah, if you're keto or carnivore, I'm surprised by that. If you are coming from a standard diet, then the reason day 3 is going to be horrible is because that's when you're going to start having withdrawal symptoms. So that would be the thing. If you're coming from a standard diet, I would encourage you that when you finish this fast, however long you go, I would, instead of going back to standard diet, I would absolutely start a keto or carnivore way of eating. Absolutely. And then you'll eliminate the health problems that come with the carnivore diet. Carnivore had healed the MECFSI. So ME. I was bed bound for years on vegan, never again. Oh. Okay, I'm not really sure what the abbreviations are standing for. My mind is not thinking of CFS. But I'm glad that you feel better. I'm glad that you are carnivore. See, like if you did vegan, yeah, it's really hard to heal everything you need to heal with keto. I feel like the other thing that I'm starting to learn with people that were vegan or vegetarian and try to do keto, we're so used to our patterns that when people are trying to like stay keto, but they were vegetarian or vegan, there's so much carb creep that happens. And it's just because you're used to eating veg, not because it's not possible. I just feel like what I'm understanding from the people that I see is that you're just so used to having veg that you're not afraid to put it on your plate, even though you are currently aware that it's not healthy the way you thought it was healthy. And so it becomes a difficult thing, but I think transitioning more towards the carnivore side of things makes it easier. So I need a fasting friend. I'm on my own and struggling. I'm lion mostly, but I failing. I sat eat. Oh, I sat eat. So very unsettled and weight gain. So again, I'm gonna point you towards the community. I would definitely encourage you to jump into the community. And I would even post that. I'm looking for a fasting friend, man. Like who wants to join me in fasting and see what happens, because like why not? Like we have so many people who want to do things and help each other, which I think is the most important thing here too, right? Like can we help each other to be healthier? Yeah. So I'm encouraging you to try that. Let's see. So you can only eat the yolks. I mean, the yolks are the best part, though. I mean, honestly, like I wouldn't mind only eating the yolks sometimes. Sometimes but I feel, I mean, the it's not like the whites are bad, from what I understand. But yeah, I love the yolks. That's my favorite part. Um, that's why I can never understand people who have scrambled eggs and it's just the whites. To me, like that was the part that I never wanted to eat, and like that's the part you're focusing on. Oh, it always made me kind of question. So Casey is saying that fasting doesn't work for them. If I get up at night and have a boiled egg or protein minimizes the down effect for me. Eating carnivore twice a day works well, stabilize my blood sugars. You know what? If that's working for you, then go for it. I feel like we need to do what's sustainable. If you're trying to fast and it's not working, and then it might accidentally push you to eat the wrong thing, then no. Or get your insulin in the wrong, no. Like, and maybe it doesn't work for you now, and maybe by 2 3 years from now when your body healed some more, you might be able to do it. That's another thing that I will say is that I never imagined the story where adding more meat, more eggs, more just food, because that's what I'm eating only. I'm only eating meat, poultry, fish, and eggs. So just eating more food. I never imagined where eating what I thought would have been overeating years ago would have resulted in me losing weight. But that's exactly what's happening. And it didn't happen overnight. Like at the beginning, I got to my goal weight. Well, actually, if I'm being honest, when I was doing keto, I was 10 pounds under my goal weight. And that's when I started introducing fat into my coffee to try to bring my weight back up because I was uncomfortable. So I did a lot of that, and then I cut it down once my weight got to where I wanted it, and I stabilized, I think, at 2 tablespoons to keep me stable. So like I do feel that we have to pay attention to what our goals are. And if I'm trying to be healthy, the healthier that I eat, the better that my body's gonna be able to repair me, the better able my body is going to be to help me with every, like I'm just gonna be healthier. Um Actually, I wanted to do just one thing I wanted to say, wellness word, is that I don't know if you guys notice this t-shirt that I'm wearing. That's me sleeping in the bed, and those are nightshades. And I made this t-shirt because first of all, I thought it was funny, but also I made this t-shirt because it's an interesting way if you want to help support the channel, and but also to walk around with the fact that I thought nightshades were harmless, right? I didn't know nightshades were causing me pain. right? These plants, they want their they want to proliferate. They want to proliferate. They want to get out there and they want to be in the world and they want to spread, right? And I feel like we don't realize that plants try to protect themselves. And so like I'm so happy that I don't eat veg anymore because these nightshades were really they were doing me in. There's a link to these t-shirts in the description if anybody's interested. But I thought this was the funniest thing to put on a t-shirt that I could find to put on a t-shirt. I'm still looking for other funny ideas because I like wearing funny t-shirts. Um, but I just wanted to point that out. I saw myself in the video and I'm like, oh yeah, I never tell you guys about this t-shirt. Why do I wear it? So I thought I would share that today. Yes, it happened the first 2 days. Okay, so I'm taking that to mean that, and you've maintained being 18.6 since then. And so that's normal. I think that it's normal that we're going to have that happen. Indigo Nili's son was the first egg allergy I'd ever heard of. Okay. Okay. Again, these are things. It's always psychological with me. Have lost what I gained. Know I'm nourished, but still have the voices to eat when I'm not hungry. Thinking a fast will be hard mentally. Oh, okay. So thank you for the clarification. Then what I'm going to say is this. If I would start with helping myself to think about that difference. So rather than like fasting, just like, I mean, fasting is not bad. So I mean, why not do it? But I feel it's more of going, okay, when I think about, oh, I could eat this. And even if it's something that's carnivore, because that's what you're doing, right? Even if it's something that's on my diet plan, when I think, oh, I could have this right now, I would just make it a point. Make it my habit that I will always verify, am I hungry? Which is actually what I do, by the way, long swear. If any of you are wondering, how is it that after all these years, I'm still doing one meal a day, I'm still like easily doing one meal a day, that I still, if I for some reason can't eat, that I'll just, all right, I'll eat tomorrow. And I don't get phased by it at all. It's because I'm constantly verifying, if I do think about food, am I hungry? And what I figured out is that if I'm actually hungry, I'm gonna feel hunger here. If I don't feel hunger here, it's because I that smelled good or whatever. And I feel like, and if you do this long enough, even the fact that it smelled good does not trigger your hunger anymore, which is like such a cool thing to know that can happen, that I didn't know was possible before. Like I thought that it was always going to be the case that if I was hungry, that I would just like, I didn't know that my mind could just decide not to be hungry anymore. Right. But apparently it can. And so, like, the more you do these things and the more you talk yourself through what you're trying to do, the better chance you have of regulating certain things. So I ask myself the question, like, because it's not often that I'll smell something and be like, oh, I want some if I'm not hungry. But I think it's only because that's the way I've trained myself over the years. And because I've trained myself that well at doing that, well, now it's my automatic. It's just what happens. And which is cool, but I know most of you are not there. So how does it start? It starts by asking that question. If I'm making a meal, first of all, and that's the other piece, to eat that thing. So let's say the kids are making breakfast and I smell bacon. It's the morning. I don't eat in the morning, but I'm like, it smells good. Now the next question I'm having is, do I want to eat enough to have a meal's worth of bacon, which would be 450 grams of bacon. Am I that hungry? And you'd be surprised how all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, no, I just wanted a bite. Like, and then I don't have any because that's not real hunger. Right now, if I am, then I'll go make a pound of bacon and I'll eat it. Right. And then probably that means I'm not going to have supper that night because I've already eaten. But I might. I mean, we'll see. It depends. Maybe I'm just that hungry, and then I end up having 2 meals that day. But that's what I would actually do, right? Or I would have, if I didn't have the full pound of bacon, I would have like probably 6 eggs and half a pound of bacon. But I would make an actual meal. I would not just go and have a piece of bacon to have a piece of bacon, is the point. I hope that makes sense. Which is why the majority of the time I don't end up eating the thing. So the majority of egg allergies are due to egg whites. I think I've heard that before too. Maybe that's why we just love the yolk so much, because the whites are. I don't know. I mean, so duck eggs have more yolk than white. I just bought some at a farmer's market. Oh, that's fun to know. But do they taste like chicken eggs or do they taste different? Like, is there a different actual flavor to them? I've never had duck eggs. I've never had any other kind of egg besides regular eggs. Hello, Tony. Thank you for popping in. Oh, thank you so much for just popping in. So Sandy Brown is in the UK. Hello. Dr. Hampton. Yes, I'm so happy that Dr. Hampton is amazing. Catching me live. Yes, you are. Thank you for coming in, Stone Rider. So thank you. Did you talk about what liquids you can have while fasting? Generally speaking, and I didn't in the video actually, but generally speaking, water is fine. Black coffee is fine. So now I'm going to talk about something that a lot of people don't think about. But so if I drink water or I drink coffee that's black, there's no energy in that, right? Not enough energy to right? Just the coffee, could you even get a gram of sugar out of a cup of coffee? So I don't think so. If it's black. Some teas can be fine if they don't give you enough to give you a gram of sugar. Right? Some teas are not. Like you have a lot of these tisanes and whatever that you're getting 2-3 grams of sugar in when you drink those things. So like they're not viable when you're fasting. But you're looking for any drinks that will not give you any energy. Now, by saying that, some people are going to say, oh, that means I can drink a diet soda. Don't do that. Even though diet soda doesn't give you any energy, so there's no actual sugar in it, what it gives you is the sweet taste that tells your brain that sugar came in, even though it didn't. So it's going to do 2 things that are going to be horrible for your fast. Number 1 is going to drop your insulin because your body thinks sugar just came in, which is going to make you hungry. And number 2, the taste of sweet in your mouth is also contributing to that psychological, I want to eat something. So you have a physical, I want to eat something, and you have a mental, I want to eat something. So don't drink diet sodas or any sweet things at all when you're fasting. Leave the sweet things alone. But you can drink water, coffee, tea. You cannot put heavy cream or butter or any of these things in your coffee, or you're not actually fasting. You have energy coming in. So, and I say that because I also want you to understand something, Wellness Warrior. If you're taking in energy, so butter, cream, and especially I feel like people do it with butter. They'll put butter in their coffee so that they can fast for days on end, but you're not actually fasting. You're bringing in a small amount of energy and you're telling your body that we're in a famine story. And that does change what your body's doing. We need to understand that. Everything that we do changes what our body's doing because it's getting energy. It's just not getting enough. It makes the fast harder, well, easier, makes the fast easier, but the action your body's trying to do harder. Not super hard because your body still can process because metabolizing fat is so easy, but you're losing a few hours every time because it still has to metabolize that fat, right? It still has to do something with it. It's not just going to let it float around. So I know that not everybody agrees with that. And a lot of people encourage fat fasts and all these kind of things. And anyways, that's my opinion. And based on what I've taken in and deduced from what I learned from the doctors. I wish Tony was still here to answer that one, because that would be an interesting one to have his opinion on. My thoughts on apple cider vinegar. So I did a challenge where I drank apple cider vinegar. You can check out that video. I don't drink it. I don't see huge benefit. I think if you eat properly, so if you eat food, fish, poultry, meat, eggs, if you eat food, you're going to do okay. If you keep in mind that all the vegetables that you eat and if you do eat any berries or fruits, all that stuff that you eat is for fun. If you keep that in mind, you'll do okay. But if you try to treat vegetation like food and limit the amount of real food that you eat because you're eating vegetation, it's harder. Broccoli is a hit or miss for totally upsetting my stomach. Yeah, the things that I've learned about broccoli lately, I'm not looking forward to ever having broccoli again. Even the fact that when you chew broccoli up, it's releasing a toxin or a serious toxin into our bodies. I can't remember what you call it right now, but I learned that from Dr. Eid, I believe, Dr. Georgia Eid. Not good. First week, no veg. Congratulations, Mary. You have to let us know how you feel next week in the next live stream. I don't know if you have any data for how you feel today, like after doing a week. I can only say that when first of all, I never liked vegetables, so it wasn't a hard thing for me to do. So I'm not going to start this off by making it seem like, oh, it was hard. It wasn't hard at all. I don't like vegetables. But the day that I decided to take the avocado and olives off my plate and like say I'm not going to do salads anymore and just be like, yeah, I'm done. Bittersweet. Like, I mean, I didn't mind eating them, but what I minded was finding out that those two things that I still had left on my plate were still harming my health. And knowing that was enough for me to say, you know what, not interested. But yeah, I mean, I would love to know how you feel next week if you want to share a bit of that. Carlisa Riley, I've fallen off keto the past 3 days. Help, please, to restart. I mean, honestly, if you're able to fast, this is again, fasting is a kickstart back to ketogenic state of the body. And then it's just eat on plan moving forward. I feel like the hard thing is that when we do keto and then we step away and we try to go back on the normal path to do keto, it's so hard. It is so hard. And I've seen people where they step away once, it's hard to get back, and step away twice, and it's like, oh no, it's really hard to get back in. Like I encourage you, once you're doing it, just keep doing it. Whatever you're stepping away for, whether it's a vacation or it's a party or whatever you think is like going to be, oh, I'm just going to do this one thing and I'm going to get back on. It's never that simple. Since I've started keto, I've not stepped away ever. Whether I was on vacation, whether I was at a party, never. And still I ended up getting messed up because I allowed myself to eat healthy nuts because I believed they were healthy and they pulled me in. So imagine my meals were always on point and still I got pulled in with nuts. So there's no way if you step away that you're going to control that. It's the dangerous thing to do. I do meat heavy keto, a veggie maybe every couple of days, or sorry, every couple of weeks, but usually only spices on my meats. Yeah, a lot of people can do well with that. I think if that's working for you, Lolo, then do it. Like, there's no reason not to do it if it's working right now. And you know what? If ever you feel you need to level up, you level up. But if this is what feels good in the moment and it's allowing you to achieve the goals you're trying to achieve, then we keep doing it. And I think that, I mean, I lived in that space where what you're talking about, where I was just having a veg once or twice a week for more than a year. Like, it was a long time, and I felt amazing until I wanted to go further because I learned what I learned. How's your rebounding? I did rebound a few times this week. Thank you, Singers, for asking me. I didn't rebound every day, but I did rebound a few times this week. I'm trying to find a cadence where I do it maybe every other day, because the more I'm learning about cardio, the more I'm just trying to tweak some things and give myself rest days and, these kind of things. But yeah, it's I did a few times already. I did a few times in the past week. Laura, I've had quail and duck eggs. Some same taste, but supposedly more like pasture raised chicken eggs. From the nutrition perspective, quail are great hard boiled. My dog eats like them. My dog likes them raw with shell as a treat. Oh, the dog can eat the shell. I didn't know that. Okay. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah, sometimes I give my dog raw eggs as well, but I wasn't giving him the shell. I didn't even consider giving him the shell. I didn't know that was the thing. So this is the next thing on my list, Stone Rider. Thank you for asking that question. If I've ever worn a CGM, I have a video that's going to be coming soon about me. I wore a CKM, continuous ketone meter, and I want to do it again because I had new questions after I did the continuous glucose. Anyways, I do have a video coming about my ketone meter story, and then we'll see about, I'm going to order a glucose monitor. So reasons to do it. Obviously the best reason to have a continuous glucose monitor, or even the finger prick ones, which I have one of those, is that it's letting you know what the food you're eating, how they're impacting your health. And there's probably certain meals that you're going to eat and you're going to be like, oh, didn't know that was causing me to have more glucose in my blood. And then other meals that you're going to eat and be like, oh, interesting. I would have thought that would have made a reaction and it doesn't, or vice versa, or whatever. I've never worn one and I've not really tested my ketones much because I don't eat much garbage. And so because I don't eat much garbage, well, any garbage now, but in the beginning, I was only having vegetables once in a blue moon. I didn't see the point in buying a continuous ketone monitor. But now I see the value in that. Maybe I'm going to learn something that's going to help me to understand food a little better, but also that I can pass it along to you guys. And maybe that's another thing that might be interesting, is that maybe we should be wearing them and sharing our data in the squad so that we can, have a better understanding of what foods seem to have what kind of connections. Maybe that'll give us the data that we can, like, when we share information, then we can have more insights onto what might be making us feel bad. For example, the fact that I keep talking about these nightshades, I'm hoping is helping you guys to understand that, hey, maybe if I'm having a problem, I should look at my nightshades, my nightshade use, and see, like, is it possible that a little bit of pepper or a little bit of eggplant is causing me to have a reaction, and I just wasn't aware that that's what's causing the reaction. So I'm kind of hoping that it might be interesting for anyone who has worn a continuous glucose monitor. Jump over to the squad and, like, put it in wellness conversations, like start a chat about it. Like, That would be interesting for me to know, because I would love to have that information and like see what we can learn together. And then I'll get one too, and I'll talk about my results. Yes, to learn about your own body. Absolutely. I just went on an 8-day dry fast and feel amazing. Dry? So, James, I'm just because people say dry fast, and whenever I see that, I get nervous. But then I remember that most people call it a dry fast when it's not quite. Like if you're taking showers, still, it's not a dry fast. So I just want to like clarify. And you shouldn't do an 8-day dry fast without showers. That's dangerous. So I would like to clarify those kind of things, because dry fast means a very specific thing from a like medical perspective. Like because you can intake water even through your skin, and so when they say dry fast, they mean not even showering or brushing your teeth or any of that stuff. So, and I think they say a dry fast is equivalent to like 3 days of normal fasting. And I don't know what it means if you just don't drink water, but you still take showers. Like how much is it? What's the equivalent? Because I don't think they don't consider that dry anymore, because water can get into you. So I'm saying this because, James, if you actually did an 8-day dry fast, not showering or everything, and you were medically followed, terrific. But the rest of the wellness warriors, like I wouldn't. That's not. Wow, you did clarify no showering or brushing your teeth. That's hardcore, and I don't encourage the other wellness warriors to do that. I've done one day before, so like I was fasting, and then in the middle of my fast, I did a dry fast day, and then I went back to drinking. But I've heard it's really, really tough on the body, and that we shouldn't necessarily just do that for days on end. So if it's not as tough on the body, I'd love to know, but maybe that's a myth that I'm believing, that is tough on the body. I would love to have a doctor talk about that. Wonder where I can find that. If you guys know any doctors talking about dry fasting, that I can get more data on that, because I honestly thought 8 days would have been problematic. Wow. Okay. And you mostly rested a lot. Was that because you didn't have energy? Because when I fast, I have loads of energy. Did you not have energy, James? Is that what happened? I'm curious. I have another comment here. Wearing one now for knowledge. Half banana drove my body nuts. Sugar shot straight up. Yeah. Um. So here's the other piece of the puzzle. When I will be doing my testing, I eat normally. I don't do any experiments of eating bananas or eating like I'm not going to harm myself for a test. That's for sure. So, no, I'm not doing that. But what I will do is I will just eat my normal meals. I will go to the restaurants I normally go to. I will do the activities I normally do. And then I will look at the results and see what happens. So, like I said, I'm gonna do another one soon. So it was up and down some days. Yeah, see, that's the part that makes me nervous. And I think that that's happening because your body is struggling. So, but I would love to have a doctor chime in. Dr. Bird just talked about dry fasting 2 weeks ago. Oh, I'll look it up. Thank you, Sing It. I know you guys have the answers. I just have to ask, and I get the answers. And I would love, again, please, if anybody else is using a continuous glucose monitor, please, please, please go over to the community and put it in start a thread and tell me about how things have been going for you. I'd love to know. I noticed I lost a lot of water weight. Well, yes, yes, yes. Of course, your body has no choice but to use the water that's on you, and it's again. I can imagine that you're exhausted. This is part of the reason that I was understanding that dry fasting is not what's recommended, at least not extended. Like adding a day here or there while you're still taking in liquids, I did believe was fine to do, but to actually just dry fast for multiple days. Now, I mean, we know that the body can survive a certain number of days without water. And if you're eating food, by the way, then even if you don't drink water, your body's still taking in water because all food has water in it. But I mean, like not eating or drinking, I know that the body can survive a few days, but like the delirium that they say kicks in, and like so your brain not functioning properly is what I was told was the part that's hazardous. And the problem there is that once I start to be delirious and my brain not functioning, even if I have access to water, now I might be too out of it to go get the water. So, and then we still have all the conversation that I talked about earlier about refeed syndrome and getting yourself out of that situation very, 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 very carefully. And I was dehydrated and my glucose levels stayed at low hundreds. Okay. I mean, James, you're okay and you're in here talking, so terrific. But that makes me super nervous and I wouldn't encourage anyone else to do that. Matter of fact, if you take any medication, you should not be fasting without your doctor's help, because fasting can have your medication like just skyrocket in its strength, right? So there's so many reasons that we should be very careful with fasting and just the way that we eat and the foods that we let in. I was once hospitalized with a kidney stone infection and didn't want to eat. However, the doctors and nurses kept pushing food. I felt fine, but wasn't hungry. Oh yeah, don't forget that they think that everybody's on a standard diet and has to eat every 2 hours. So they're seeing you in there not eating and they're like, is she anorexic or what's the problem here? And they're not going to ever think that, oh, maybe she's just healthy and her body's trying to heal. And therefore, food is like the last thing her body's thinking about. I was going to get one CGM. Dr. Bosworth uses them. Yeah. Dr. Eid also suggests getting continuous ketone monitoring because the mental health benefits of having ketones and knowing that you're having ketones in the system, which is a part of the reason that I wanted to check mine out to see, like, because I always am feeling really nicely balanced now that I'm eating properly. And I wanted to know, am I just walking around with high ketones all the time? And yeah, so there's I learned a lot of things. But yeah, there's lots of reasons to monitor these things. I think the body is wiser than doctors. That goes without saying. Everything that we know from dissecting the body, and the body already knew it. So that's yes. I just wasn't hungry, but drank a lot of water. Yeah, your body knew what it wanted you to do. Your body knew what it wanted you to do and knew what it needed. Totally was trying to heal. Yeah, thanks for that. Okay. This is the time to put in your last few questions if you have any, Wellness Warrior, because I'm going to be getting ready for the rest of my day. Thank you for the information on intermittent fasting to be at 18.6 at least. I've heard that at my age, it can't be good to do multiple day fasting because I'm not getting enough protein. Female 68. So Lolo, I mean, at 68, if you are not getting enough protein, the way that you're going to know is that you're going to be hungry. And or you can eat more and see like how you feel. So one of the things that I learned, and I can't remember if you're doing carnivore or not, but one of the things that I learned is that if you're doing carnivore and you just pile your plate full of meat and just start eating, your body's going to tell you when to stop eating. And I know there's a lot of people that have like binge eating issues where, yeah, they will eat past their signal to stop, but it doesn't mean the signal didn't happen. If you're allowing carbohydrates in, and those carbohydrates might be in the form of spices, but if you're allowing carbohydrates in, then you might not get the signal. But when we're talking about salt in meat or salt in fish or salt in poultry, if that's all that's there, the signal is loud and clear. The signal is like pushing you backwards. It's really interesting. And it just doesn't taste right anymore. You just don't want to eat it anymore. And that's perfection because you eat it while it tastes good and then you stop eating it when it doesn't taste good anymore. Hospitals in the US feed diabetics straight up carbs. Who is shocked? They do it here in Canada too. They do it here in Canada too. So it's ridiculous. They do also that same thing to people with heart problems, as you saw from the video that Pat and I put up when he was in the hospital. It's crazy. Doesn't make any sense. I know you are about to get some good eats. Um, yeah, I will eat later this evening. So we are 1 o'clock here, 1:26. So yeah, I'm gonna have supper somewhere. Probably, well, I have a meeting this evening, so probably somewhere around 9ish, 9, between 9 and 10, probably. Hello from Germany. Have done 3 or 4 fasts now, and I listen to my body as when to stop. Perfect. Have managed 48 hours and 72 hours without problems. Feel really good afterwards. Sandra, that's amazing. I love the fact that you're taking your time. I love the fact that you're listening to your body. I love the fact that you're not pushing this envelope. You're doing it and it makes sense and it feels good afterwards. That's what's supposed to happen. So congrats to you, and I look forward to hearing more about how your journey's going. Violet, when was the last time you went to a doctor? Do you just skip them now? I went to a doctor. Let's see. Like I have to feel it was like just over a year ago. But yeah, I don't go unless I need to. I at this point I'm just like this the stupidity that's being pushed just makes me angry. But I'm also in a scenario where I'm looking for a new doctor, so that's also part of the problem. Because I just go for the blood tests and whatever that I'm asking for. No, it was more than a year ago. It was 2 years ago. What year are we? Da, da, da. Yeah, 2 years ago. Sorry, over 2 years ago. So I just go for the blood tests and that kind of stuff. Sometimes, okay, so sometimes you do carnivore, sometimes you're eating vegetation. Perfection. So on the days that you're eating vegetation, it's keeping in mind that those carbohydrates are still going to impact your insulin levels. They're still going to push you. And so we just need to be careful about that and just have a good understanding of what happens when we eat carbs versus when we don't. The other thing that I will say is that what I noticed for me is that when I was eating carbs, I had to pay a lot of attention to how much I was eating because I could just keep eating. But when I was eating only meat, the signal would come really clearly, and I would be like, okay, yeah, I had enough. So because you're flipping back and forth on those keto days, what you need to do is make sure that you know how much meat you have on the plate and that you know how much carbohydrate you have on the plate and track and make sure you don't go over and whatever and not overeat because it's possible. Ian Stewart, hello. Thank you for just popping in and giving us your voice. Came really late, but fasting can work miracles. And I love what you're adding to the end of the conversation. So, with that being said, Wellness Warriors, we are going to stop there. I love talking to you guys. So, next Monday, I'm going to bring a new topic, some kind of topic about keto or carnivore or something. And if you want to have real success with fasting, the thing I want you to do is get your food right. Start off with keto or carnivore, but I think keto, if you're coming from a standard diet, start off with keto, get your food right so that you can do a fast and not be chasing and not be uncomfortable and all the problems. So I'm going to link this playlist at the end for you to get your keto right so that you can fast better. And I'll talk to you guys next week in the next live stream. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.